It is really hot in my house today, so if I am just like caked in sweat by the end of this video, ignore that. Hello, my hojos. Today is a very special day because today we are celebrating 15,000 of you subscribing to my channel. This is just incredibly wild to me. I've only been making videos for about 2 months now, and in that time I've already had 15,000 people find me and think I'm interesting enough to hit subscribe. It has definitely not sunk in yet either that so many of you have come to my channel to check out new shoujosei series. However, I am just so grateful seeing how much fun you guys have in my comment sections of my videos and seeing you guys share it on Twitter. It makes me so happy. I'm just so grateful, and I really wanted to celebrate with you guys a little bit by doing a special video. I asked you guys on Twitter what you wanted to see for like a 15K celebration, and the first response I got was someone wanted to see my favorite mangas. I didn't know if I wanted to do this right off the bat because I've already talked about a lot of my favorite series in different essay videos, but I can't not talk about things that I love, so here we are. Since this is a 15K celebration, I went with my top 15 manga. The thing about this list though is that not a lot of series stay on my top 10 for a long time. A lot of these rotate in and out depending on what I'm reading at the time or if I haven't read it in a while. Basically, none of my top series are stable, and it's because I'm not really a ratings person in the first place. I mostly just kind of go on vibes and like how much a series made me emotional or made me cry. Despite this though, my top 5 are basically solid and will never move, so those are like my favorite series of all time that I do have more of a strict rating on. But never say never, they could move at some point in time. Also, as a disclaimer, we must remember this is my list, it's not yours. If there's not a series on this list that you like, it's because it's my list. I don't know how much YouTube comments or like TikTok comments on this, but I just wanted to get that out of the way before anyone tried to come at me that these are my choices in my list. Lastly, before we get started, stay tuned to the end of the video because I'm doing a little giveaway with a friend of mine on Twitter to celebrate my 15K, so make sure to stay until the end to get more information on that. This is going to be a pretty long video, so without further ado, let's get into it, my top 15 manga of all time. Snow White with the Red Hair. Snow White with the Red Hair is probably the series that got me back into manga in 2020 during the pandemic. It's a currently ongoing shoujo series that follows a girl named Shirayuki who's an herbalist in her kingdom. She has unusual red hair, and because of this, the prince in her kingdom wants to take her in as a concubine, but she refuses and tries to flee her country. While she's escaping, she runs into a boy named Zen, who happens to be the prince of the neighboring kingdom. I immediately fell in love with this series when I started reading it. There's something that's just really so special about it, and I think it really has to do with the character dynamics and how great the world building is. There really is a little bit of everything in the series as well, because there's action, there's romance, there's adventure, and there's a lot of just really fun slice of life moments. But the thing that really makes the series so special is the characters and just how passionate they are about the things that they love. They're just so motivated by each other, and one of my favorite things about this series is the way that Zen gets motivated to be a better prince for his kingdom by seeing Shirayuki just kind of like do her thing and be an herbalist and be a girl boss. I also just think the romance in this is just done so well. Zen and Shirayuki's relationship is just I love it so much. It gives me butterflies every time I read about them. Like I said as well, the world building in this series is just incredibly cool, especially in the later volumes too, when we start to see other kingdoms and their climates and cultures. There's a winter climate kingdom that Shirayuki goes to in the later volumes, and I just really love how they've designed the clothing, how they've designed the homes that they live in and the food that they eat. It's just very cool to see all these new places as the series goes on. I feel like this series really just gives me Studio Ghibli vibes. Every time I read it, I'm like hearing the Howl's Moving Castle theme in my head. The way the series has gone so far and the way it has developed the characters from the start is just so fun to read about. Every single character gets a moment to shine and they all get their development, and Shirayuki and Zen especially, just seeing where they started and where they are now, I love this series so much. It's so good. I would put the series higher on the list. However, the thing is, I got way too ahead of myself and I read very far ahead of where the English volumes are. And then I kind of forgot certain characters and certain plot lines. So I have it lower on the list because I actually put it on pause recently so the English volumes can catch up to the chapters that came out in Japan. And while I reread these, I will then remember where I'm at. The series will probably bounce back up once I'm able to keep up with the story again. I can literally feel myself like sweating through my clothes already. I tried to wear as little as possible so I wouldn't be so sweaty. Natsume's Book of Friends. Natsume's Book of Friends is a pretty long-running shoujo series that follows a high school boy named Natsume who's got this peculiar ability to be able to see yokai. Due to this, though, he's been ostracized by the people in his life, especially his family and friends, and he's had to move from house to house because his family just can't deal with his ability and they find him to be creepy. He finally ends up in the Fujiwara household, and at this home, he finds his grandmother Reiko's old possessions, one of which being the Book of Friends. The Book of Friends holds all the names of yokai that Reiko had previously bullied into giving her, and now because of this, Natsume is getting targeted by those same yokai to return their names. This is an older series, but I only started it recently for the first time, and oh my gosh, I just love it so much. I'm surprised I didn't start it sooner. If there is anything that could be considered a comfort series, it is Natsume's Book of Friends. This manga just makes me feel so good, and I really do love that it's pretty episodic for the most part, because there's new yokais that he gets to meet, new problems that he has to solve, and dealing with his ability to see these yokai in the first place. Watching Natsume just try to be a better person and learning to accept himself the way he is, as well as making new friends and letting his family like accept him for who he is as well. I've basically decided that Natsume is my adopted son. I just love Natsume so much. Everything that happens to him, I'm just like, he doesn't deserve this. I've cried more in the first 5 volumes of the series than like any other series I've read before probably. I really want to make a whole video on this one because I'm only 8 volumes into it already and I just have so much to say about the interpersonal relationships and how this series deals with humanity. It's so good. Also, just want to say I'm obsessed with Nyanko sensei. I want an entire room full of plushies of him and I just want to fall backwards into them like that one scene from Breaking Bad. Just thousands of Nyankos just surrounding me. That's how I want to die. Machida-kun no Sekai. I don't have physicals of this one because there's no English translations of this series, but it is just a very simple, short, and sweet shoujo series about a high school boy named Machida. Machida is the oldest of his siblings and part of a single-parent household. He's not the smartest guy, he's not the most attractive, and he's definitely not the most athletic. But he loves people. He's a genuinely kind and good person, and we see how his actions affect those around him through his daily life. You think that this series wouldn't be much because it's just following a high school boy like walking around and doing errands and being nice to people, but this one hits deep. It's kind of in the same vein as Natsume, where it explores human nature and just how innate kindness will never be a bad thing. So many lines in this series have just left a mark on me and I will remember them for the rest of my life probably. I honestly come back to one of them all the time whenever I'm depressed because like, I need to hear it. Machida just makes me want to be a better person and there's only 25-ish chapters of the series, but it's just so good. It is so good. I don't know how they fit so much goodness, so many good lines, so many good themes into just like a few volumes. We don't have this manga in English still, and I really hope we do eventually because it's just a touching story about human nature and being kind, and I just think we need more of those. We need more series of people being kind. Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicles. There are so many Clamp series that just have a special place in my heart, but Tsubasa especially is the one that has cemented itself as one of my favorites. The story is about a boy named Shaoran who's an archaeologist in Cloud Kingdom and happens to be childhood friends with the princess Sakura. He's working on uncovering ancient ruins, and one day they awaken when Sakura follows him to the dig site. A bunch of magical, mystical things happen, and Sakura's soul ends up getting shattered and scattered throughout different universes in the form of feathers. Shaoran must retrieve these feathers to regain her memory, and along the way he gets the help of Faye and Kurogane, who are hopping universes with him. Okay, yeah, like most Clamp series, the story is all over the place for this one. However, the way that they are able to perfectly craft several new cities and universes every single time they get to a new place is just absolutely insane. Every single time they introduce you to a new city, it is just filled with so much life and personality and characters. And it's just really like you also ended up in these new worlds with Shaoran and the gang. They weave in so many characters from all their different series as well, because they have this multiverse going on that they could just put a bunch of different people in if they want to and it wouldn't really matter. And do you think Marvel could make a multiverse of madness like Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicles? I think not. This is a series that I read in high school, and I feel like I vividly remember everything that happens in it still. I vividly remember all the characters and all the cities they go to or the villages that they go to. The outfits in the series are, they're Clamp level outfits. Peak fashion from Clamp. Sorry, I got distracted. I was looking at it because the art in this is so good too. I feel like people think that like top 15 series are supposed to be like super emotional and like, oh, they have a theme and a narrative, and there's not much of that in Tsubasa from what I remember, but this series is just so good. Have more top 10 series that are just dumb fun. That's my lecture for today. Twinkle Stars. Let me start by disappointing you to tell you guys that Natsuki Takaya's only series on my list is Twinkle Stars. Natsuki Takaya did Fruits Basket, if you're wondering. However, Twinkle Stars resonated with me in a way that Fruits Basket was never able to. Which doesn't mean that I don't love Fruits Basket, clearly I do, but Fruits Basket just doesn't have the levity that Twinkle Stars has, or the realism, I guess. So I was able to connect with these characters a lot more. The series follows a high school girl named Sakuya who lives with her cousin in a small town. One night on her birthday, a mysterious boy shows up at her house and then leaves Sakuya with a dress and some parting words of wisdom. Sakuya is curious about this boy and wants to know who he is because she doesn't even know his name. But turns out he is a transfer student that will be going to her school. His name is Chihiro, and on the night of Sakuya's birthday, he was incredibly kind. But now at school, he wants her to stay away. This series hurt. Everything about it hurt me. Like most of Takaya's series, this one seems pretty unassuming at first. It gives you mostly just slice of life and comedy moments because it wants you to get into the characters and get a feel for their personalities. And then they hit you with the backstories, and it hurts. Because of Fruits Basket's more fantastical elements of like the curse and the zodiac and having all the family drama, I couldn't relate to it as much, while with Twinkle Stars, it stays based in reality, and a lot of the personalities and the trauma that these kids go through is a lot more relatable. Specifically Chihiro's character, who deals with some devastating trauma and because of that has horrible guilt over it. Chihiro's whole backstory just made me sob in a way that I was never as connected to a character in Fruits Basket. I also really find that the side characters in this one have a lot more, I keep saying realistic, but this is just a very realistic series. I feel like I am watching someone's actual life when I am reading this one, and not like some wild story that like would never happen. There is romance in this too, and it's very understated because the way that Takaya draws expressions is just so, it's full of love. You feel like you're watching someone who loves someone else. There was a lot of times where I got butterflies just because I would see a character like look at someone and I'm like, oh my god, he loves her so much. My one criticism with this one is that it wrapped up way too quickly. I would have liked this one to have gone on for like 1 or 2 more chapters, but I don't always blame this on the author because sometimes the magazine rushes it. Would you? You know what? I don't want to retake that. If you guys haven't read Twinkle Stars yet, I highly recommend you do, because this is a very underrated series from Natsume Takaya, and honestly, I feel like it was overshadowed by Fruits Basket because it came out after Fruits Basket, which is why I keep comparing it to Fruits Basket, because I really love this series and I feel like more people should be reading it. A Condition Called Love. Ah yes, we meet again. I've talked about you twice now. Since this is the third time I would be talking about A Condition Called Love, I would urge you guys to go check out the video I did on the series already, where I talked about all the reasons why I love it and what makes it so great and what makes it one of the best romance mangas like I've ever read. Just for a quick synopsis, this one is a slice of life romance shoujo series that is currently ongoing. The story follows a girl named Hotaru who doesn't really have any experiences with love. She's never even been in love before. And one day, a boy named Hananoi, who's in a different class, comes up to her and confesses his love to her. The story just kind of follows the two of them figuring out a relationship together, figuring out love together and what it means to each other. And it's just such a perfect series. The way we slowly learn about both of their characters, the way that we slowly get to see their relationship develop and turn from just like liking someone casually and into love is just so beautiful. The series is finally getting physical copies in English, and I won't need this one volume 6 in Japanese anymore. I'm so excited to own this series. I literally just bought Wake Up Sleeping Beauty the other day, which is the same mangaka as A Condition Called Love. So I'm just so excited to own more of this mangaka's work. They do such great character writing, and they're very good at like starting out a story very simple and not really knowing the backstories, and then just growing it into something that's just like so well crafted. I love well crafted character dynamics and emotional stories, and I think you will understand that that is very apparent throughout my other manga picks. All the characters in the series are just written so well. Hananoi especially, because I feel like I just really relate to him and his inherent need to like be loved by people, and to do that he like tries to make sure everyone loves him. And I'm sure as an audience you don't want to hear that, but that's just who I am, okay? Anyway, please check out my full video on this series. It is such a good series, and if it is a way to get you guys to want to read it, I would highly recommend you check out that video, because also I think I just did a good job making that video, okay? Ghost Hunt. Holding up this volume is probably going to be a flex to some of you. I promise I'm not doing it on purpose. This is an older shoujo that once again I read recently for the first time, and while I hate horror stories and ghost stories, I loved Ghost Hunt. Ghost Hunt is a bit of an episodic manga series that follows a high school girl named Mei Taniyama who meets a boy named Shibuya Kazuya. He's a 17-year-old that happens to be the president of the Shibuya Psychic Research Company. And when Mei accidentally breaks his research equipment, she's forced to intern at the company. And Naru, Mei's nickname for Shibuya, along with special ghost contractors, John, Ayako, Lin, Misato, and Takigawa have to solve the ghost problems that are presented to them. The mystery and the horror stories that are set up in the series are done so well, and it all comes from the first volume and how it sets the tone for the series. You feel like it's going to be like right off the bat like a chaotic ghost story that like tries to draw you in, but it's actually just a very low-key ghost hunt. It is just them waiting around and watching computer screens to see if there's any ghost activity. And then, spoiler alert for the first volume, it turns out to not even be a ghost, but a natural disaster. And I feel like that's such a good way to set up the rest of the series. Also, having this one be the first ghost hunt that brings in all the side characters as well is a great way to introduce you to these new people and kind of their personalities and character dynamics with every single one of them. And honestly, a lot of the characters, basically all of them except for Mei, are not likable right off the bat, but throughout the series, you really start to get to know them and start to like them and see that they're actually good people. and they're just a little off-putting at first. I also just really like how by the end of the series, they've really formed like this ragtag found family group together. Naru's character especially, you start to like more and more while the series goes on. And the mystery around him is just done so well. The way that they leave the breadcrumbs throughout the rest of the series, everything that is written in the series is written with intention. I will say that not every ghost story in this series is like an absolute banger of an arc. I feel like there's a few duds here and there, just like mystery or horror-wise. However, even when the story itself isn't exactly grabbing me, the characters and the way that they like interact with each other and the way we get a little bit of development and like more added mystery to the story, I think is what makes it done so well and never feels like it falls flat. It just really gives you like time to see a character shine or a character do something that like maybe they didn't do before and you're like, oh, they can do that now? Also, an amazing plot twist by the end of this one that I actually did not see coming. Okay, scratch that. I kind of saw it coming, but not in the way that it was actually done in the series. I saw my anime list and anime list had something listed and I was like, that seems like the plot twist. This manga is just extremely entertaining and creepy and has great overarching story and characters. And if you haven't read Ghost Hunt and you're like really into horror, I highly recommend this. I want to hold Aono-kun so badly I could die. I talked a bit about this one on my Kodansha digital jail video, but I will get into it a little bit more again and why I love it so much. This is a horror romance seinen where the story is about a high school girl named Yuri who's extremely shy and just non-existent at her school. She becomes infatuated with Aono from the class next door, and one day she decides to ask him out and he says yes to her. The two spend 2 great weeks together, and one day Yuri comes to class to find out that Aono died in a traffic accident. Not wanting to go on without him, Yuri tries to end her life, but Aono comes back in the form of a ghost and stops her from doing so. The reason why I fell in love with this manga almost instantly is how well it balances the relationship aspect of the manga with the horror aspect. Aono and Yuri just have this really complicated and toxic relationship together that I just found so incredibly compelling and interesting because you want to root for them so bad and you want to see them happy together, but at the same time you're just like, I don't know if they should be. The story and the plot itself are also just like perfectly paced. In the first chapter alone, you get a lot of like relationship and slice of life moments between Aono and Yuri when he comes back as a ghost. But then at the end of chapter 1, they just hit you with the horror and you're like, oh, that's where this is going. It gives you breadcrumbs more and more throughout the series to get you even more curious about Aono and like what's going on with him. I just find this to be an amazingly crafted and well thought out series because somehow it was able to keep me reading continually when it like was scaring the shit out of me at the same time. I could barely fall asleep the first night that I was like binge reading it. This manga isn't just scary though, and I feel like it's very good at not just being scary because it subdues itself by Yuri as a character not being as scared of everything as you think she would be. Yuri brings this sense of levity that helps you feel more grounded in the story as well. You're like, oh, well, Yuri isn't terrified, so I'm gonna be a little calm too. I just find this series to be perfectly balanced. It is just a perfect balance of creepy, horror, bad things, and like good, happy, lighthearted moments. And that is what I like in a series. It should give me the plot, but it should also give me the characters. If you're interested in reading this one yourself, definitely check out the trigger warnings beforehand because it might not be for everyone. Basara. The first Yumi Tamura series has now appeared in my rankings. Basara is yet another older shoujo series that I read for the first time this year, and I think it's pretty apparent that I was playing a lot of catch up for what I missed when I was a kid. The story follows a young girl named Sarasa who was born in an outskirt village with her twin brother Tatara. In this village, the people believe that Tatara is the child of destiny who will bring down the Red King. However, one night the Red King rides into their village, killing killing Tatara and Sarasa's father. To keep her people from losing hope, Sarasa must pretend to be Tatara and lead her people in a rebellion against the Red King and the tyrannical leaders of the kingdom. The manga started off a little slow for me at first. I was actually kind of worried that I wasn't gonna like it because so many people had like hyped up Basara when I first started reading it. It really wasn't until volume 4 that I found out why this manga is just so special. Once again, we have another series where I am just flawed by the world building and how incredibly well it weaves all of the characters together throughout. Every time Sarasa faces a new overwhelming obstacle, it doesn't feel like it's just added for drama. It feels like a real thing that would happen to someone who's like leading the charge in the middle of a war. These obstacles always have a purpose for growing Sarasa's character as a leader and as a person too. The other thing that I find to just be really special about the series is how it has the premise of the child of destiny, but the story is decidedly the opposite of that. It shows how much being a chosen person will like eat away at you and turn you into this ideal version of yourself, but won't make you yourself. How you have to act like this perfect person that a group of people have just portrayed you as, and if you ever step out of line of that, you're considered to be bad or you're lying to everyone. And the way that Sarasa has to deal with being a all great being who's worshipped by people and leads her people into rebelling against the bad guys, and she never gets to just be herself, I feel is just like a great point to this story. And the fact that Shuri, or the Red King, is like the opposite of Sarasa in that regard of being like a child of destiny is just really well done. Because while Sarasa has the child of destiny placed on her and she tries to fit into that mold, Shuri has a child of destiny like prophecy placed on him as well, but he doesn't want to be that, so he tries as hard as he can to not be that. And in the meantime, because he's trying so hard not to have this destiny placed upon him, he's causing immense harm to other people and just being an ass. The weaving themes and narratives culminates perfectly by the end of the series with one of the best enemies to lovers arcs in existence. I really did not think by the end of the series I was gonna like Shuri. I was like, when I was in volume 4, I was like, I'm not gonna like this guy. There's no way I could find him likable. He killed Sarasa's dad and her brother. Now I'm just like, it's okay though. He killed them, it's okay. I also just fell in love with Basara so much that I had to get the art book. There are 2 of them. This is the red one. There's also a green one as well, and the art is just stunning. Basara really solidified Yumi Tamura as just being one of my favorite writers. I feel like the other series that I will be mentioning on this list was like my first series from her, and I just realized how special she was. And then Basara really just solidified that for me. Quiet, my God. This is what happens when you live on a street. You can't have a nice, wholesome moment talking about your favorite authors. Colette Decides to Die. I love this series so much. Literally, what don't I have to say about Colette? I have hyped this series up so much that honestly, I would be surprised if people who have watched most of my videos wouldn't have expected this series to be on this list. Colette Decides to Die is a wonderful fantasy shoujo series about a doctor named Colette who is just overworked and tired. She works in a small village and she's the only doctor that works there, so she is just worked to the bone every day and doesn't have a single day off. She loses her passion for helping people and jumps into a well to try and end it all. But instead, she ends up in the underworld where she meets Lord Hades. However, Hades seems to have something wrong with him, so Colette decides to become his doctor and help him out. Everything about this series is just so wonderful and full of life. I love how Colette and Hades bond with each other and how they both have passions in their life. And at the same time, their passions are kind of fading, and watching each other is helping bring those passions back to life. Colette seeing Hades be so dedicated to his job and dividing the souls or whatever it is that they do in the underworld. And Hades seeing Colette just be a doctor and helping people and wanting to be better at his job. It's just, it's so good. It's good. It's pure goodness. The two are just so inspired by each other, and they work hard to make the other one proud, and they just have such beautiful romantic moments together. It's so incredibly sweet and wholesome, but at the same time it has these great themes on life and death. Because Hades works in the underworld and his job is to like separate the souls of who gets to be reincarnated and have their soul return to the world, and the other one goes to hell and never to return again. It's got these themes of like how to deal with losing loved ones and how to deal with loss and how to deal with Colette's humanity and the fact that Hades is immortal and if they'll ever be able to overcome that gap. I'm getting emotional just talking about it. I love this series so much. The world building is also very cool. You guys are probably sick of me saying that. The world building is very cool though. Basically, this is like loosely based on Greek mythology. So you see all the other Greek gods as well. You see Athena, you see the guy with the wings, Apollo. I'm forgetting names now. But you see a lot of the other Greek gods as well, and where they live, you get to see the sky that all the Greek gods live in, and just the way that it's like, the way it was imagined and like how they live. I just think it's done very cool, and I love seeing all the different worlds that Colette gets to go to and Colette gets to find for the first time, all the different places and villages that she has to go to for her doctor work. It's just done very well, and you feel like this is just a very expansive universe. I want this series in English so bad. I want it so bad. Please do it for her. Do it for Colette. This is such a special series to me, and I feel like if I ever get to actually finish the entire thing, and we either get physical copies in English or I just get to finish the translations, I feel like this will be very much higher in my top 10 list. We have now entered my top 5 manga. These are the ones that are not going to be changing anytime soon. The ones that are much more stable in my list, that have had like a very heavy impact on me. So these are like my favorite of my favorites. I also would say that the ones before this weren't really in any sort of order. I wouldn't say that it was like 15, 14. I would just say this is like a rotation of the ones underneath the 5. But for my top 5, these are basically like, these are in the order that I would say these are my top series. Haikyu. I'm a volleyball player, okay? What do you guys want from me? I feel like almost everyone knows what Haikyu is about, so I will skip a long synopsis on the series, but basically it follows a shorter kid named Hinata who wants to be a volleyball player, and because of his shortness, it kind of hinders his ability to play volleyball. I can relate. However, he's got incredible innate athletic ability and jumping skills, and because of this, he's able to make it to his high school volleyball team of choice, and that is where he meets his rival to friend, Kageyama, who helps him out as a setter, and the two bring out the best in each other when they play together. There's so many reasons why I love this manga, but let's start off with the characters. Hinata as a character is someone I feel incredibly attached to because of his ability to like get knocked down and then get up again. Fuck. He's continually working past his flaws and keeping just a positive attitude while he does so. And that is just something I was never very good at as a sports player growing up. So watching Hinata do that, I was just like, I needed to be that. I wish I was that. I really have never been someone who's good at not getting depressed when I'm not instantly good at something. And seeing Hinata be able to just get right back up has made me extremely aware of that flaw in me, and that is just why I love Hinata so much. I just think he's such a good character. He's the ball of sunshine that we all need in our life. And because of the series and because of Hinata's character, every time I play volleyball, I try to come at the angle of making a mistake as well, this is just how I'm gonna learn how to not do that or learn how to be better at it, or this is my chance to overcome this obstacle that has been put in front of me. I've become just a lot more positive when I play sports because of that series. Not just Hinata, but Nishinoya as well, and his ability to get back up too. I think Hinata and Nishinoya are both pretty much the same type of character, but Nishinoya kind of lets himself get down a little bit more than Hinata does. And I very much relate to that as well, because it is really hard to just stay positive constantly and not let yourself get down if you look stupid or make a mistake. Also, because I play volleyball, I don't know if I can just envision the games and how they're being played out in my head a lot better, but I really just feel like I'm watching a sports game when I'm reading the series. I'm just like fist pumping whenever I see someone get a point or someone makes a great move or a great pass, and I'm just like, let's go! This manga just brought out that visceral sports player in me that I haven't been since in high school, so it is just so funny that I've been so passionate reading the manga and just getting so hyped. I love how it also handles loss and failure, and how it handles that loss and failure not just for the main team, but the other teams as well. Kind of just showing that losing will always be a part of life and it'll always be hard, but as long as you keep going and you keep trying, it doesn't mean it's the last thing that will ever happen to you and nothing good will ever happen again. You just gotta keep working on yourself. This series is just incredibly personal to me as someone who grew up playing basketball, softball, volleyball, shot put. I feel like I would have kept going and kept playing sports for longer in my life, because I did quit playing volleyball before I went to high school, and I do wonder if I had read this series when I was in high school or before I got to high school, would I have kept playing volleyball or would I still have quit it? Because I was very into volleyball as a middle schooler, but I quit in high school, and I do kind of regret that, because I love it so much now and I've been playing for 7 years. The funny thing is, I don't own Haikyu. I'm kind of holding out for a box set, but there's so many volumes in it that I'm just kind of like, I'll hold off. I read most of it online, so I wasn't buying it while I was reading it at the same time, so that's why I don't own it. I would own it. Hopefully we'll get a box set soon. Kimi ni Todoke. Now, this is a manga that I read in high school and I've reread so many times that it is just burned into my brain forever. Kimi ni Todoke is another series that I feel like everyone already knows, so I will keep the synopsis short for this one as well. The story follows a high school girl named Sawako, who's unaffectionately nicknamed Sadako in her class for her creepy demeanor. Everyone is convinced that she can curse people with just a few words. Despite this, however, Sawako is just a very sweet and kind girl who's kind of awkward. One day, the popular boy in class, Kazehaya, overhears Sawako talking about him, and because he wants to know more about her, he starts to get closer to her. Despite how a lot of people talk about this series, I see it more as a coming-of-age romance rather than just strictly a romance series. Especially because we follow Sawako and Kazehaya and all their friends throughout high school, and we see all of their struggles from like forming relationships to deciding on what colleges to go to, and even how to work long-distance relationships. Seeing Sawako and Kazehaya work on their relationship, not even just in the first couple of months, but throughout an entire year, I really just look up to the relationship that they portray in this series. And I did as a kid, but I do as an adult as well. The way it shows the importance of communication and how it just affects every aspect of your life if you poorly communicate is just a great theme to read as a child and as an adult. I feel like it's something that everyone needs to learn still. It's also just affected me personally, because I remember when I read this for the first time, I was like, damn, I need to communicate more. I need to talk about my feelings more. I keep myself bottled up a little too often, and I need to be like Sawako and just try to break out of my shell and express myself and be myself in the best way I can be, while also getting to know others and telling people about my feelings. And we also don't just see Sawako's perspective. We also see Kazehaya's and Yano's and Chizu's and Ryu's. And I just love how much we get to see of every single one of the characters and see their struggles and see how they deal with high school life. I feel like as an adult, I still highly relate to a lot of high school series because I was also in high school once and I know how hard it is to be in high school. And while this one did help me get through high school in a lot of ways, I look back on those times fondly where I was probably not in my best state of mind as a high schooler, but I was reading Kimi ni Todoke and everything felt fine, you know? There's just something so special about this series and so unique to just itself that Kimi ni Todoke is really for anyone. This is just a good coming of age series that if you need to work on yourself, if you need to learn how to communicate better, Sawako and Kazehaya might be able to teach you that. It handles its story and its drama so well, and it never feels unrealistic to what a regular, everyday high schooler would experience in their life. It is a near perfect series, and I don't think this one will ever not be in my top 5. It is just so special and so well done, and I love all of these characters so much. They've stuck with me for almost my entire life now. QQ Sweeper and Queen's Quality. This is another manga I've already just talked about in length in another essay video, so I'm sure it's no surprise once again that this is on the list and so high. I'll give another quick synopsis on this one, but I do recommend you guys go check out the video where I talked about this one in length and why I love it so much. But QQ is an action shoujo series that is currently ongoing. It follows a high school girl named Fumi who has no recollection of the last 10 years of her life, and she's constantly moving between families because she's considered to be a cursed girl. Fumi finds herself homeless yet again and ends up in an old school building where she falls asleep, only to be awoken by a boy named Kyutaro, who's the school's cleaner. Kyutaro's family decides to hire Fumi into their family business of sweeping. But Kyutaro's family isn't just ordinary sweepers, they're also sweepers of the minds of those who have been infested by bugs. There's a lot that makes this series so special, and for me, a lot of it has to do with its themes of mental health and self-acceptance. Most of the series and the running themes is about like accepting yourself and all the flaws that come with you and accepting that not everything about you is going to be a good thing and you're going to be an angry person, you're going to be a sad person, but that doesn't mean that that's who you are as a person. Those are parts of you, but it's not you. And the way it incorporates those themes into the action and into the romance is just done really well, and it's perfectly balanced. The romance between Kyutaro and Fumi is also just done so well. It's a lot of emotional pining, and I really love when there's like pining in a romance series, especially when they can't like say their feelings for one reason or another. This one is just, the whole time I'm just like, I wish you could tell her. Even though they can't like say their feelings to each other right away though, their relationship is still really cute and it's still like they're basically dating but without saying that they're dating because they talk to each other and they comfort each other and they're there for each other and they care so much about each other. And I especially love that they kind of fill the hole in the other one's life where Kyutaro needed friends growing up because he had no friends, and Fumi fills that hole for him, and Fumi needed a family growing up, and Kyutaro fills that hole for her. Kyosuke Motomi, who is the mangaka of this series, just really is incredible at balancing comedy and interesting characters and drama all together and just making it such a fun and interesting and unique experience. She has so much personality that she just imbues in her series, and it really comes out every single time you read one. Queen's Quality is truly just such an important manga, and I highly recommend everyone read it because I feel like this is the series that would be for everyone. I cannot see a single person disliking this series. Personal bias though. 7 Seeds. Yumi Tamura series number 2, let's go baby! I literally just put out a video about 7 Seeds, but that was talking about how much I hated the anime, so now I actually like get to talk about why I love this series so much. 7 Seeds is a post-apocalyptic shoujo or josei series. Either one, honestly. That follows 5 groups of 7 people and 1 leader who were chosen by the government to be cryogenically frozen and sent into the future when scientists realized that meteors were going to be hitting the Earth. These groups all have their own skill sets and their own traumas that they will be bringing into the future to try to help them survive. The amount of characters in this series and how perfectly they were navigated throughout is actually incredible. And if you had told me that there would be 30 characters that I would be able to relate to and feel like I knew personally, I wouldn't believe you. How could I like be able to relate to 30 different characters? But no, you never doubt Yumi Tamura. She is amazing. Of course, some of these characters like don't get a bunch of screen time, but you still feel like every time they're on, you know who they are, you know what they're about, and you know what they're good at. However, when we're specifically looking at Hana, Arashi, Ango, Semimaru, and Natsu, they're just some of the best written characters in manga. Hana, who's a bit of a wild child, she's self-centered, but she also just really cares for people and she wants to help people out. And then you have Arashi, who's like a great balance for her because he's not much of a wild child, but he can get angry when he needs to, and he's just really, like my friend Vampy says, he's the group therapist. Getting to see Natsu break out of her shell and show people how important she is and how much she's useful to others. Seeing Semimaru kind of get over his little bullying spout and actually become a person who wants to help other people and has talents and has meaning in life. And then there's also Ango, who just is so traumatized by his time growing up before he was sent into the future that he is traumatizing other people and he's not a good person, but you watch him and you're just like, why are you like this? You would have been such a great leader for those around you. Not just the characters are perfect, but say it with me, everyone. The world building. Every new danger or landscape that the characters face is just so intricate and detailed. And it just feels very well thought out from an environmental standpoint, like how climate shifts and changing would affect like flora and the animals and how their evolution would keep them going in this new future that has new climates. I feel like it's just very well thought out when Yumi Tamura sat down and was like, okay, how would these meteors affect everything in the world going forward? I read this series during the pandemic too, so it just kind of hit even a little bit closer to home at the time, especially with certain arcs where there were pandemics of their own in it. But seeing these characters go through very dark times and still having bright moments and having fun with each other and learning about this new world together, while it is traumatizing at times, they have fun and they're still having there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Not everything about a new way of living is going to be absolutely horrible. The impact that this series has had on me, the amount of times I've cried, the amount of times I got goosebumps when I was looking at the artwork, it's just insurmountable. This is such an amazing series, and the fact that we don't have it in English as well is just really sad because this is truly just one of the best manga I have read in my life. It is not just a perfect manga, it is a perfect experience as well. Lastly, we have my favorite manga of all time, Chihayafuru. I will probably get emotional. Oh god, I'm already emotional. I will probably get emotional talking about this series because it is about to end in one more chapter, and I only just started reading this one in March of last year, and it really just has impacted every part of my life. Chihayafuru is a josei sports series about a young girl named Chihaya who has no passions of her own in life. That is until she meets the transfer student Arata, who teaches her about the card game Karata. Chihaya falls in love with the game after playing with her childhood friend Taichi, and the three of them all share the dream of becoming Karata masters. However, when Arata moves away and the three of them go their separate ways, Chihaya wants nothing more than the three of them to return and play Karata together again. So when Chihaya finds out that her and Taichi are going to the same high school, she asks him to start a Karata team together. This manga takes you on such an emotional roller coaster that even after you've finished reading it for months, it is still just in the back of your brain at all times. Every day, all your brain can think about afterwards is Chihayafuru. The hidden meanings behind certain poems on certain cards, or who got which cards, so what that means in the future, or maybe a certain character interaction influencing a Karata game later on in the series. So much thought and effort goes into every moment in this game, and how those threads will be tied up later in volumes, it just feels cathartic every time. There is not one single unlikable character in this series. Maybe you think there is, but then all of a sudden, you'll get a perspective shift and you'll see how dedicated and hardworking someone is when it comes to their craft and to how much they love Karata and how much passion they have for the game. You see so much of the passion and love that these characters have playing Karata. Whether they want to be the queen or the Meijin or not, they just love Karata. Watching Chihaya's journey as a child and seeing her playing high school Karata and achieving her dreams is just... I'm so stupid. I love this manga so much. Seeing... Oh my god. I'm such a fucking baby. I'm such a fucking baby when it comes to Chihayafuru. I know, I'm stupid. Well, this just proves how much it is my favorite series. We'll go with that. Anyway, seeing Chihaya as a child and how she is now competing in high school Karata tournaments and achieving her dreams is just emotional, clearly. Chihaya's Karata growth isn't the only thing that makes her so special, but she also has a lot of emotional growth throughout the series as well. At first, she's not very adept at reading others' thoughts or feelings, and she's kind of self-centered and just goes and does whatever she wants. But as the series goes on, you start to see her really care for everyone and start to put other people first, or really think about other people's thoughts and feelings rather than just being her usual chaotic self. It doesn't just focus on these characters improving at a game, it also focuses on them improving as people too. Specifically when talking about Taichi. My pride and joy and my favorite character in all of media. I'm gonna put this down. I feel like people are probably gonna be distracted by the way I've been like flinging the manga around, so I'm gonna set that down for the rest of this. I could talk about Taichi for hours because he is truly just a special character to me, and I know he is for so many other people as well. When I was writing the script yesterday, I had put down, I'm already crying when I'm typing the notes, so let's see if I'm crying when I'm talking. But I cried a little bit earlier, so let's see if I can still cry about Taichi and see if I have that in me. Taichi is probably the emotional core of this series though. Not only is he the leader of the Mizusawa Karata team, but he's also the one that is just reining everyone in. He's the one that's making the decisions, but he's also the one that's helping encourage everyone go forward as well. Chihaya is the sun and Taichi is the moon. Oh god. I know I am so stupid right now. I am so stupid right now. The way that Taichi is able to be such a strong leader for his team, but he himself is struggling so hard with his own shortcomings, especially in Karata and his jealousy as a person, is so hard to watch sometimes that, I mean, even thinking about Taichi sometimes, it makes me so emotional. However, that's the reason why he's so relatable and lovable, because you just see him struggling and you're like, I see myself in that. I see myself getting down. I see myself distancing myself from other people because I also just don't feel like trying to communicate my thoughts. I just want to be better and I want to be better now. A lot of Taichi's struggles I very much relate to, and everything about Taichi is just... he's truly the perfect character. I cannot thank Yuki Suetsugu enough for making the character of Taichi, because I don't think any other character can make me just like want to cry from talking about it. My other favorite character in this series is Shinobu, who is the current Karata queen in the series as well as Chihaya's rival. Her story is just so beautiful, and seeing her passion for Karata that started out as something that made her a very lonely and isolated person, and becoming something that gets her friends, and being able to see the value in teamwork and having people around you is just such incredible storytelling. Her and Chihaya's rivalry becoming something that brings her joy and just gives her life and motivation to keep going in Karata is so wholesome and is just pinnacle rivals to lovers. I'm on the Shinobu ship now. Forget about Tai Chihaya. I'm all about that Shinobu. Chihayafuru is just a perfectly written, stunning series with so many great emotional beats and side characters, and the way it is perfectly able to get you into a sport that you've probably never heard of before is incredible. Yuki Suetsugu is a genius. She made this series with every ounce of love, and you can just tell. It is an absolute masterclass in storytelling, and I can never see this series being beaten by another manga. I think this will just forever be one of my favorite series of all time, and it's about to end in the next chapter. How many times can I fucking cry? My god. Anyway, read Chihayafuru if you haven't. Now that I'm done crying my eyes out, that was all. Those are my top 15 manga series of all time. I hope I was properly able to convey why I love all of these series so much and why they are so special to me. Manga has always been a very big part of my life ever since I was a kid, and a lot of these series have impacted me throughout my life, and that is just why all of them are just so special to me. Because these manga impacted me so much, I wanted to give y'all the opportunity to own 3 of them through a giveaway I'm doing with my friend Alerts Manga over on Twitter. They were kind enough to help me put out a Colleen's Manga Rex favorite manga picks pack. This will include Haikyu, Snow White with the Red Hair, and Queen's Quality Volume 1, as well as a $25 gift card to Right Stuff Anime. The giveaway will be very easy to enter. All you have to do is follow both me and Alerts Manga over on Twitter, as well as like the original post. I will have the links for all of that down below, and for any more information, please click on those links to find out. I just really wanted to thank all of my hojos for making me feel so welcome on this new platform. And I wanted to give back as best I could by giving you guys the opportunity to check out some of the series that I love. These past 2 months have been so fun for me, and it's just been really fun scripting new videos and trying to convey my thoughts and opinions on things in different ways and funny ways. And I know I keep saying this, but really, thank you guys so much. I cannot convey how much I'm thankful for all of you. Getting to talk about my passions for shoujo and josei manga and having people actually talk back to me and I'm not just like typing furiously on a screen, it's just really nice. It feels nice. I feel like I have a community of people who are just as passionate as me. I've really just enjoyed everything I've made so far, and hopefully in the future I can just keep making the content I'm enjoying. Thank you again, and I will see you guys all in the next video.